Today I'm going to look at one of my favorite watches. It's a favorite watch for several reasons. The way that I acquired it, what it actually is, and the person I met or spoke to in acquiring it. It comes in this original cardboard Omega box, and inside is the red wallet and the papers. And we'll come to those in a second. So let's get the box out. This red Omega box, they're almost always in rather poor condition. This one's a bit wobbly. They seem to be never any good when they came out. Here it is. It's a 105012. Now, we can recognize that straight away, and in fact we can probably recognize more about it just by looking at it and narrow it down. Well, the 105012 had two different cases. The 66 had a case made by CB, Central Watt, which had lines here, and this watch does not have that. If you are particularly well schooled in Speedmasters, you'll be able to notice a difference in the lug shape as well, but that is slightly more subtle. This watch came to me from a private lady in the United States, in the Midwest, and she contacted me and said she'd found her late father's watch in his house that had remained empty and derelict or abandoned for a year and a half, and they were doing a final clear out before selling it, and she found this watch as it is, just like this, in a sock in the bathroom. Well, she was very excited, and she did an awful lot of research, and as it turned out, she was a middle school teacher, and she had a sort of rod of steel through her, and she phoned up and sent me photographs. Said, I would love to buy this watch. And I said, has it been anywhere? Has it been with anybody? And she goes, no, as far as I know. She said, my father loved watches, and he had a lot of Rolexes, and my brother dealt with all the Rolexes, but I found the Omega, she goes. And she said, would you like to buy it? And I said, I'd love to. And we negotiated a price based on photographs she sent me, and we came to a price that was pretty strong, to be perfectly honest. I get rather carried away when a private person speaks to me and tells me a story. I get completely taken in, and there was no reason not to trust this lady at all, and so I gave her a very strong price, and that was when the steel of the middle school teacher came out, and she said, are you sure you can't do any more? And I said, the only way I could do more is if you found the box and papers, if it has any. And obviously she phoned me up a day and a half later. She hadn't had any sleep, and she'd gone through the house, and she'd found the box and the papers, and she said, send the money, which I did, and this watch arrived, and I can't tell you how happy I was to receive it, because everything about it bears the story. It makes it seem true. She said he had a lot of watches, and he mostly wore Rolexes. He didn't wear his Omega much. She never remembered him wearing it very often. And if I look at the dial in this watch is absolutely perfect. If we zoom in to the left-hand subdial, there's something going on, but it's possible it's on the crystal. And what I really need to do is to take the dial and movement out and inspect it, and it may benefit from some cleaning. Cleaning being blowing gently with some air. That's the extent of the cleaning. Occasionally I've had to move a piece of dust off the dial with some Rodica, but I should be super careful. So is the watch original? Does it fit with the story? Well, the bracelet is quite loose at the top here, but it's very tight in the springs. That seems, it's almost like I don't understand how it could have got so loose up here and yet retained the springiness. But anyway, that's what it is. The bracelet is a 1506, which is quite a rare bracelet, and the end links are 16s. So in order to get a good look at it, I like to undo the bracelet. Now, we do that very simply. Now, be careful, because the pin can fire across the room, and if it's what I know is in here, you don't want to lose it, because this is an original clasp pin, and you'll see, oops, if it doesn't roll away, you'll see that it has no shoulders, and that's the correct pin to use in a bracelet, and for some reason they're not that easy to get hold of. I'm sure you can, I just haven't looked that hard. So we've got the bracelet flat now. We can see the whole watch laid out in all its glory, and if we turn it over, we can see 1506 here and 16 end links. While we've got it on its back, you see that the pushers are the fat-necked 105012 pushers. Great. Great. You know, if you're going to buy a 105012 and you're going to pay serious money, it has to have the original pushers. If it doesn't have the original pushers, I believe that it's downvalued quite a lot for me. Let's go through this watch just the way I like to go through all the watches, and start with the dial. So the dial is stepped, professional, so this was the first of the professional dials, and it has T Swiss made T. Now there is some variation with the T Swiss made T's on the 105 and 12s. The very first ones had no T marks, and the very last ones had the wide space T's, the same pattern as the 69s. This one has what we call close spaced T's, and that would be correct for a 65. Has the long indices, and obviously the black dial, and we inspect the black dial for any marks, scratches, or oil stains or anything like that, and there's nothing on this dial. There is possibly something in the left-hand subdial which I will investigate with the photograph. I'll put it up here and we can see. But in any event, if this watch goes for service, which I have not yet done, then I will, see if there's anything to do there. The plots. Now, very interesting. I've seen this a lot with one-owner watches that have been held for a very long time, often not worn. These plots are not perfect. They, in fact, spread out off the end of the plots towards the center of the dial. And some people who whose opinion I don't value consider that to be a relume. There's no way in a million years this is a relume, for two reasons. First of all, the history, which I believe, and second of all, when you look very closely, you can see the patina, you can see the age, you can see the sort of slight dirt of the ages, in fact, on the plots that cannot be replicated. So I'm confident we have an original fine dial there. Next thing to look at is the bezel. Again, I'm confident with the history that this bezel cannot have been changed for a counterfeit, because from the history it was never serviced at a time where counterfeits were available, and I don't think the middle school teacher changed the bezel. But that doesn't stop me checking, so I will check for the font, and my first port of call in the font is always the 3 of the 130. Then I look to see the distance on the 110. This is also obviously checking for the spot of the 140 and the spot of the 90 and the shape of the 7s and the 8s. Sounds like quite a lot, doesn't it? Well, I've been looking at counterfeit bezels for quite a long time, and there are minuscule differences, and every time they come out with a new one, they correct one of the previous problems, and so I have to go back and look even harder. But this is an original bezel. It's in very fine condition. It's got just the right amount of damage on the outside to make me think that it looks real. So we got an excellent dial and an excellent bezel. So that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Now we go to the case. Well, the case obviously has the scratch number, which is a shame, but I don't know what the scratch number is for. I think it's a watchmaker's mark. In fact, there it is. Yep. If we look at the back, the case back bevels are of equal size. That's a good sign. It shows that the case back has not been reprofiled or polished. Sometimes you'll see that this top bevel here will be longer than the bottom one, and the circle of the flat of the back is smaller, and that shows that it's been polished. The hippocampus is very clear in this. You can see it right away, and the Speedmaster. We look now at the vestiges of a brushing on the sides. So that looks like it was brushed and has not been reapplied, and is just general, wear, has polished down the brushing slightly. The facets here are absolutely clear and polished, and the lines between them are very defined. So I would say this case hasn't been polished. Do I call this an excellent case? No, I do not. It's very good. If you like, it's very good plus plus, or it's excellent minus. So it's closer to excellent than it is to very good, but you can't call it excellent with that number engraved on it, with the loss of some of the brushing, and yeah, that's it. You have to, excellent for me is reserved for something that is flawless, and you can go down from there, and so there's the case. What about the pushers? Of course, the pushers on a 105-012 are crucial to the value. These are original pushers. You can tell by the fat necks and the fact that the necks themselves have been slightly decayed, and because we're now seeing new fat neck pushers coming from somewhere, I don't know where, and the fit of these pushers, because so far you can tell whether they're new fat neck pushers, and new fat neck pushers are better than having service pushers, but they're still non-original, and they're often not fitted as well, because these are press fit and you have to bang them in with a hammer, and watchmakers don't like banging in don't like hitting the sides of watches with hammers, so often they don't go all the way in. But these are, you can see these are old ones. 24 tooth crown finishes it off. Lovely. This is a beautiful watch, and the question is, should I open it up and show you inside? Yes, I should, but I'm not going to. Why? Because this is one of the few watches that really is a true safe queen. It arrived, I got the extract off this number, which also, by the way, shows it came from the United States, which is always a good sign of the oral history being correct. And so this is a safe queen. It stays in the safe. I don't open it. I keep it. And if I want to wear a 105-012, I wear one of the other ones. And I just like having this watch and knowing the history, and it's just such a nice thing to own. I mean, I have worn it occasionally. And in goes the, yep, and there's that. So there is my finest or favorite. I know favorite's the hard one, but that is the that is my best 105-012. Best because it's got the history, it's got the complete papers that fit with the history. The original box, I'm pretty sure it's the original box. I don't think this lady had time to go and buy a replacement box, and it's just a lovely piece of history. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more, let me know, and if there's a particular reference you'd like me to look at up until 1978, I'll do my best to make a video talking about it. But in the meanwhile, I'll carry on taking a single watch from my collection and discussing it for a while because I think it's fun.